Hello, parents, families. Thank you for joining us. My name is Sano with LW Kids and Family, and parenting during a pandemic ain't no joke. Can I get an amen? In the spring, I did some Zoom kind of meetups, kind of like, man, how do we walk through a pandemic? And Pastor Tim, Pastor Dana shared with us some thoughts. Pastor John and Fawn encouraged us. And then we had Tiffany and Ebed Evans. And so after the summer, going into the fall, the topic and the heart that I think the Lord is leading us to talk about today is homeschooling. So I reached out to homeschool moms, and I talked to two amazing, powerful women, Christine and Kristen. And I thought to myself, what better to do than to get together and answer some questions? Because I know that there's some moms out there that are probably a little bit worrisome, anxious. This is your first time. So I hope and pray that this comforts you and you're not alone. So let's introduce Christine. Kristen, could you introduce yourselves? And Christine, we'll start with you.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Christine Costuros. I'm married to Zach we just celebrated our 17-year anniversary.
Come on.
We have 4 children, 2 are adopted. Our Bernice just graduated from high school this year. I homeschool my middle 2 biological girls. They are now 7 and 9. And then we have a crazy 2.5-year-old toddler, Roman, at home. So that is our family.
That's great. And you did public school and then transitioned into homeschool, is that correct?
Yeah, so our homeschool journey, my 2 middle children, they grew up in the public school system, also the private school. And I pulled them out of school 3 years ago, and I've been homeschooling them ever since. So I can't wait to share a little more about that.
Thank you for being here, Christine. Kristen?
Hi, I'm Kristen Snodgrass. I'm married to Josh. We've been married for 13 years and we have 3 kids. Josh went to public school and I was actually homeschooled for most of my childhood. We never really planned on homeschooling our own kids until our oldest was in preschool and she loved it and we loved it and it was all good. But I came across this homeschooling blog and I don't know, I got like really excited about all the different ways to make school really fun, and something about it just like stirred in me, and I talked to Josh about it and he was totally on board from day one, which has been really helpful. So we've been homeschooling since then. It's been 7 years and it's been awesome.
Thank you, Kristen, for joining us. Christine, the reason why we're here, like we talked about, is homeschool. This morning, I learned an interesting fact that in the gospel, in the Bible, that do not fear is mentioned over 350 times. 350 times. Do not fear. So do not fear. You're in this, or we're in this together. And we're going to go right into the first question. Sounds great?
Sounds good.
Love it. All right, so reflect back to your first year. How was it, and any insecurities and challenges that came with it? So going back to your first year, how was it? Any insecurities, challenges? We'll start with you, Christine.
Let's be real. I had no clue what I was doing. um, first of all, I didn't even know many homeschool parents. So it was hard. It was very challenging. I would say it took probably 4 to 6 months to de-school myself because I was raised in the public school system.
You said D-school?
De-school. That's what I call it. I had to de-school myself because I realized that I had only known the public school system. So I was trying to mimic the classroom. I was trying to be a teacher to my children. And then once I started learning from the best of the best, these amazing homeschool mamas out there, I had no idea what it actually entailed. They were like, you don't need to do that. All you need to do is learn alongside your children and not mimic the classroom. So once I de-schooled myself, we were golden and there was no turning back. So it was hard at first though.
When you say it was hard at first, could you imagine a moment that was a little bit challenging that came out of nowhere? Or could you pinpoint one thing?
Oh, I mean, my now 9-year-old, she would constantly say, Mom, that is not how we do it in school, or that is not what my teacher does. So I was being compared a lot to her teachers. So just learning to work through that. And really, what happened with us is I had to step back and say, You're right, I'm not your teacher. I'm going to learn this with you because I don't understand this either. And I'm going to sit down and learn alongside you, and we're going to figure this out together, which creates just, I think, a beautiful relationship in itself. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, I only had one child and she had only had very limited school experience when we started. So we didn't have like a lot of the comparing. I just had a lot of learning to do as far as how my kids learn, especially like at the time it was just my oldest. Learning things like saying like, "Oh, you did that wrong," was like a trigger for her, and like
Right.
I could not do that. I needed to say, "Which one did you do best?" That was, and just learning
The
things like
wording.
that. Yeah, the wording was super important, and that was something that um, I needed to learn, and that was something through our first year. Just kind of learning her learning style and what
Yeah.
her triggers were and what mine were, and how we could do this together.
Good.
That's good. And I thank you for the vulnerability of just being compared to a teacher that was in school, or even knowing that there's different learning styles that we have to teach our children by. Question number 2, year 2 to year 1, what's the biggest differences, encouragement you can give?
You want me to go first?
So
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So year 2 to year 1, what's the biggest differences?
I think you just, as time goes on, whether it's year 1 to year 2 or even just throughout the first year, you're just going to get more confident as you go, no matter how long it's been. You get to know your kid better as far as their learning style and your teaching style. You learn what works for them and what works for your family as far as your routine and what you need, what kind of structures you need to have in place. And you kind of learn to, maybe it's, so this is for me, I was like super type A, so I was always like check every box and make sure you have, X, Y, Z, and if the book says to do this activity, then you have to do this activity. And so that's something for me that I've learned over the years, is it's okay to be like, what do I really think we're going to gain from this? Is this really worth our time right now, or would it be better if we scrapped that and did this other activity or whatever? So I think that that's something that you kind of, as you go, you get more comfortable doing that and saying, I don't have to do everything the book says necessarily. I can factor in other things that I think would work better for us.
Exactly. I'm the same way. And I think I know you just end up falling into your own routine. In fact, just planning out my school year now and planning everything out, I know that we are going to alter from it. I know that we're just going to fall into our own natural routine. And also with that, I have found you're going to have hard days. Just like teachers in school, they have bad days. And as a stay-at-home parent and as an educator to your children, I learned that it is okay to just throw in the towel some days and say, you know what, we're going to go outside. We're going to watch a movie. We're not schooling today, and that is okay. Yeah.
For a lot of moms and dads out there, they didn't choose to become homeschool parents. It's something that kind of was chosen to them. So there may be a little bit of frustration, a little bit of anxiousness. You chose this route, but I know that in that journey of choosing, there was some doubt if you were qualified or not. There was some struggles. Could you speak into that aspect? And is there any encouragement to those parents that are just questioning themselves? Like, man, I don't even know if I got what it takes.
I'll say something to that. I just want you to know that there is no one out there that knows your children better than you do. And I mean, this is not a surprise to the Lord that this is happening right now. And you can do this. You are going to be amazing. I mean, your children are your children. You know them better than anyone else. And you know their feelings. You are going to learn how they learn. And I don't know, I think it's just such a lie out there saying that, we are not qualified or we can't homeschool our children, but you can do it. You can do it.
And that being said, too, you're not expected to write your own curriculum and know everything to homeschool. You
Right.
you are like opening a book and you're helping your child like do the activity and read. I mean, there are some homeschool parents that do write their own curriculum, and I think that's really cool. But I mean, you don't have to know everything to teach it. You can
Right.
open the book and learn together, like we talked about earlier, learning with your child.
Right.
It's yeah, and then everything that you said is so true too. Like God will qualify you, He will equip you, and like she said, nobody loves your children like you do. So you're going to be the best teacher.
And not to mention just the information that is out there today. I mean, this is not like homeschooling 20 years ago. The resources, just the homeschooling community in itself is amazing. So encouraging.
We're going to get into that
Okay.
in just a moment, curriculum. But I just wanted to say to the mamas out there, if your husband is not there, if the dads are not in the house, let them know that there will be an encouragement to them from me, because we're in this together when it comes to not just moms, but parents as a holistic approach
Yep.
to love and serve our kids. And Kristen, I love what you said when it came to learning together, because it brings me back to just discipling on Sundays. There's a little bit of insecurity for parents to say, I don't know how to teach my children. But in aspect, it's learning together, walking it out, and having them see that dad and mom is learning with them, encourages them, and gives them confidence. So thank you. Thank you so much. And they're enough. They know more than they're. Yeah, it's good. All right, curriculum. Let's talk about that. So if parents are not wanting to do the school curriculum, what kind of information is out there to choose curriculum for their kids in a school year? Is there websites, groups, Facebook groups, things like that?
Oh gosh, there's so much,
Yeah.
right? There's so much. I was actually explaining it to someone the other day. Just like in the church, there's all these different denominations, right? In the homeschool world, right? There are so many different ways that you can homeschool, and they even put names on it. You can do it classically, you can unschool, you can Charlotte Mason, that kind of thing. But I would say, as far as choosing a curriculum, I know for myself, when I first started, I got on YouTube, and there are thousands upon thousands of homeschool mama bloggers out there. And I just started watching videos like, okay, I kind of like their style. I kind of like what they do at home. They kind of remind me of our family dynamics, that kind of thing. And I think you just kind of start going from there. I know for us, it was really important to have a godly-based, a godly-based curriculum. Also, and you're probably better at answering this question, I wanted to simplify it. I started off with a pretty intense curriculum. It came with books upon books of teacher's manuals. And I'm like, what is this? I don't want to read, for 2 hours on a Sunday and prep for the week. So we have gone into the world of, I found a beautiful curriculum that I literally get to open it. It tells you what to say or do. And in fact, when your kids can read, they can become independent and do a lot of the work on their own. But yeah, I would just say, look, as far as curriculums go, how does your child learn? Because it's not a one size fits all. You may have this child learn this way, and this child may learn a different way. I don't know, what else would you say about curriculums?
Actually, when we first got started, I found this book that I think it was recommended to me, or maybe I saw it in a blog or something, but it was, it's by Kathy Duffy. I always recommend this to everybody that's considering homeschooling. It's 102 top picks for homeschool curriculum. And she has
Can you do me a favor, Kristen? Can you just say that again, the author in the book?
Kathy Duffy, 102 top picks for homeschool curriculum, I think. It's a long title. But it was really helpful for me because it had kind of like personality quiz type things that were for like your child's learning style, and then it would identify like what type of learning style your child was. Also for you as like a teaching style, what your preferred teaching style is, and then it has 102 different homeschool curriculums that they recommend based on where you fall on those two, like on those different tests. So that was really helpful for me getting started. And then, like you said, there's so many resources online. There's so many blogs, and then there's a lot of now I go a lot by word of mouth because you get to know more homeschool families, and then everybody's talking about this one, and so yeah.
And for more information, and if you have questions, lwkids@livingwater.com. We'll have some more info that we can send to you. All right, so structure of the day. Let's get to it. What does a day of homeschool look like in the Christoris household, in the Snodgrass household? I mean, when you wake up and the flow of it, and it does alter sometimes, but a typical day in the life of a homeschool mom, dad.
Okay, so I think that at least for our family, structure is super important. So we try to always start at 8 o'clock in the morning. For us, that just is what time works. Everybody gets up, gets dressed, has breakfast, and then we know it's time for school at 8 o'clock. That really keeps us on track, so I don't start to feel like I'm losing them, like too much of the day is going by and they're doing this activity. We're starting off with school. We start with those subjects that we all do together, which for us is Bible, history, science, and I do like a chapter of a read aloud book. After that, I let my older kids go do the stuff that they can do independently while I work one-on-one because I have a 5-year-old, so she really needs me to be able to have, my undivided attention. So I work with her for a little bit independently, and then once I finish working with her, I bring the other two back in and finish up the rest of their stuff. We're usually done by lunch, so it's not, I mean, people are usually surprised when they hear like how fast you can really get your homeschool day done, but we are usually done by lunch. If we're not, then we'll take a break and have lunch and finish up, within an hour or so, but it's not too bad. Yeah.
I guess our day's pretty similar. I like a structured day.
Yeah.
We do start around 9, usually 9 o'clock, and I do try to make them brush their teeth, brush their hair, eat breakfast, have all that done before 9. And at 9 o'clock, we do something called morning time, which in the homeschool world, it's a thing. Some people call it morning time, have you?
What is it?
Do
What do you
morning
do?
time?
No, what is
You
it?
don't know about morning time?
I don't know about morning time.
Just Google it. So morning time is when we all come together as a family. We're usually in our pajamas. I have my coffee and we meet on the couch. And this is actually my favorite time of day. It's really special. This is when they know that school is starting. And this is when we do our family subjects. So those are the subjects that you can teach your kids no matter what age they are. Everyone can learn together. And we always start our day off with prayer. We pray for Daddy. We pray for all his employees. We pray for, whatever needs to be prayed for. I teach them how to pray. We usually do a quick little devotional or we'll just read the Bible. Then I have a basket, literally just a basket next to my couch, and it has all the books that we loop through. So there'll be history subjects in there. There'll be books on science, whatever we're learning at that time. And then, like you, we also do a read aloud, one of the best things that you can do with your kids of all ages. It's wonderful, and it's usually a chapter book. So we might spend 5 minutes reading. We may spend 30 minutes. I mean, I just gauge my kids. How are we doing? Sometimes my 7-year-old, I'll let her color or do something if she's getting wiggly. So that's how we spend the first hour of our day. Then we'll break, and then we start on the math and language arts. Those are kind of the most important subjects as far as they need to focus on. And then, we're usually done around 11:30, and normally pre-COVID, that's when we have activities, play dates, we go do something fun, but that's going to look different for us this year too.
And I would say to parents out there that are following, my daughter is 13. We homeschooled some years ago. She wanted to get back to school. But as a middle schooler, she has kind of a set schedule with teachers and programs, things like that. What I love and what I'm learning, just listening from you two, is even just starting the day off right. Like morning time, pajamas. Yeah, get the stuff done, but let's come together and let's just do devotions. Let's teach how to pray. Let's pray, or let's just talk. What's on your heart? So they can settle and then go from the presence of the Lord, go from the presence of mom and dad, and it changes everything rather than just saying, okay, good luck in school, there you go. Not like you do that. Right. Dads, maybe, I don't know. Moms,
That
very
was
spiritual,
me.
maybe not.
That was me.
Was that
I think
you?
I told you this.
Yeah.
Pre-homeschool, I was that crazy clapper mom. Let's go.
Oh.
Get in the car.
Can you talk about this?
What?
Clapper mom. When
Clapper mom.
Yes. So she goes, I was a clapper mom. I said, what's a clapper mom?
It's just an intense mother who's trying to get their kids ready to go to school and not be late.
So what an amazing season of intentionality to slow,
Yes.
be in his presence, and live from victory, live from family. I love that. Clapper mom. But when you did that, that was amazing.
It's embarrassing.
Well, let's get into some struggles, right? We've been talking about some niceness, some goodness, some structure. Kids are kids, and they have high emotions. And sometimes they don't get along, not just with each other, but with you. So how do you walk through when emotions are raw and there's multiple ages and multiple different groups? So how do you do that? How would you walk through that?
Well, let's just be real. We have bad days.
Yeah, that's good.
We have hard days. Siblings fight, just like you said. In our house, we just do a lot of breaks. I mean, there are days where, okay, everyone just go somewhere, go to their room, let's go be alone, go read a book. Or this is something I learned from a homeschool mom, and it actually works. It's amazing. If it's just crazy and chaotic in your house, if you just go grab a good book, this sounds weird, but it works. And you just sit on the couch and you start reading it out loud, something happens and it calms the storm. And all of a sudden, I mean, I did not think it would work, and I've done this numerous times, and all of a sudden, people quiet down. Maybe they'll even join you on the couch or on the floor. And it's hard because, the fleshly side of me sometimes just wants to freak out and start yelling too, or get everyone to calm down. But I've learned in my household, the book magic works. Yeah. Just grab a book and I just start reading like I'm reading to myself, and it really does calm down my house. That sounds
I'm going to have to try that one. I have not tried that trick.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's not my idea. I found it, but it's good. Yeah.
For us, I think when it's like the siblings squabbling, sometimes they just need space from each other because especially like a homeschool family, they're together like pretty much 24/7. So I think it's normal that they'll like get on each other's nerves. So sometimes they just need space from each other. So that might mean, okay, you're sitting on this couch, you're sitting over there. I have to like sit them, like don't move
Don't
from
look
your
at each
spot.
other.
Yeah, because they're just, picking at each other. Sometimes we have to do that. When they're just really not wanting to do school, usually that means I need to prioritize, like let the others do something independently or go draw or something, and I'm going to sit and work with this child one-on-one right now because that's what they're really needing. So usually that helps if I'm sitting there with them going through whatever subject. It's just usually it's like they're feeling stressed or they're feeling overly like overwhelmed by it or something. So me being there to like walk them through it usually settles them down.
That's good. And I would say the reading isn't just for kids and infants. My wife and I, when we first got married, we lived in Tacoma, Washington. We really couldn't afford much, so we didn't have cable, right? Like we buy IKEA furniture and we had to, anyways, long story short, we got a library card and we read to each other. And that's what we did. And so when you talked about reading to calm the storm aloud, just people coming together is amazing. And then, Kristen, when you said sometimes people just need space, I mean, it just depends. And you know your kids more than anything. It's good. We are winding down. This time has passed by really quick. We only have time just for a couple more questions. And I think this has been so engaging enough. I'm thinking we may need a part 2 because I think there's more that I think people may want to know. But before we move on, I just want to say thank you both for sharing your hearts, sharing your family. And let's go into the last couple of questions. Sounds good?
Sounds good.
Blind spots. What are the blind spots that you didn't see? Maybe you brought it up in year 2 to year 1, but what is the gaps and the blind spots that maybe you can share for parents out there that you didn't see the first, year or two, to say like, hey, you may see this, and give them an encouragement there?
I was being too hard on my daughter our first year, and that was like a me issue, I think, where it was like, I'm not putting you in school, I'm homeschooling you, so there's so much pressure on me to make sure that I'm not messing this up, that you're learning just as much as everybody else is probably learning at school.
You're not going to fall behind.
Exactly, you're not going to fall behind. So I was really hard on my oldest, the first year especially. Just not a lot of patience, I guess. It was just a lot like, this is what you need to learn, so we're gonna sit here until you learn it, kind of thing, which is not a good way to teach like a 4 or 5-year-old. That's not how they learn. So that was something for me. I had to learn that it really is okay for your child to learn at their own pace, and really don't try to compare with what they're learning, what the other kids are learning at school or whatever, what you feel like in your head they should know by now. As long as you're working with them, and kids learn different things at different paces too. So they might be really ahead in math, but they might really struggle with their spelling or something, and that's okay as long as you're making progress. It's not going to look the same for every kid.
That's good. Anything from you, Kristen?
Yeah, I would just say again, give yourself grace. And like I said earlier, if you try to mimic what they're doing in public school, you're probably going to fail, as I did.
Love it.
Yeah.
I heard someone say, so people are going school shopping, and I heard that the 3 most important things that you need to pick up as homeschool parents is flexibility,
Yeah.
patience, and grace.
Good.
Not mine. Read it. It was amazing. All right. This is open comment time. So anything that you like to share with homeschool when it comes to engagement with kids, marriage, environments, anything, last comments that you would like to share with families?
I have a few things to share. I've been asked oftentimes, well, what about you? When do you get your alone time? And I do have to say, when I started homeschooling, that was a really big struggle for me, because I was used to having many hours a day to clean my house, to do the grocery shopping, to work out, to have time for me. And my advice to you now, and what I have found over the years, what I do for myself now to get that alone time, because let's face it, you mamas and some of you dads, you need to have alone time. You need to have time for yourself. So, Monday through Friday, I wake up an hour and a half earlier than my kids, which, if you know me, not a morning person, that is not an easy thing for me to do. But every day, it just rejuvenates me. I have my Jesus time. I work out. I drink coffee in peace. Whatever it is that you need to do on your own, do it. Another thing that I do is I get a sitter once a week for about 4 hours. And that is the time I get to do appointments and things like that if you have younger kids. Now, if you financially can't get a sitter or can't find a sitter for whatever reason, a lot of my friends do this. They will find a mom or another parent who stays home, and they swap. So every other week, your kids would come to my house for 4 hours at the exact same time, so you know that you can go and do whatever you need to do, coffee date, whatever it is. And then the following week, you would take my kids. And that is a beautiful thing, because again, we just need alone time, especially if you don't have, grandparents or people around to help you. I just love having that time, knowing that once a week, this is my time to get out and do what I need to do.
Soul care. So good. Thank you for bringing that up as well. Yeah. Kristen, soul care or anything on your heart?
Man, I'm not a morning person either, and my kids are early risers, so getting up before them has always been a challenge. But I get my little bit of quiet time. We do school, we do lunch, and then we do chores, and then that's when I say, okay, you guys can go have your screen time, and it gives me like an hour to just like go to my room and close the door and have quiet. And I know that they're going to be happy and quiet and content out there. And I know that I can take that time to kind of recharge my batteries because I'm an introvert, so like the all morning talking to my kids and having my kids talk to me is very draining. So having that time in the afternoon to just have quiet that's when you have your morning time and I have my afternoon time, but kind of feeling the same need. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's good.
I have one more thing
Please.
to say. Going into this, some advice. I would say define your purpose. Like, I understand most people don't have a choice. We have to homeschool this year. But answer this, what do you want to accomplish this year? Maybe I was just reading the other day that the average family doesn't eat one meal together a week. So what if this year or this season, even if it's just a few months, what if you actually have sit-down meals with your kids? What if you talk about big, deep issues? Like our teenager this last year, at dinner time, we talked about all the big stuff going on right now. We talked about finances. Things that they don't learn in school, right? How to balance your checkbook. Things like that. So what is it that you want to accomplish this year with your kids? Or maybe, for us, the most important thing is we want them to know the Father heart of God. They can know all the schooling that they want, but at the end of the day, what is really important? Yeah. You know what I mean? So, and maybe it's going to be different for every family, but what is your purpose? We all have to do this year, whether we like it or not. What do you want to accomplish with your kids? Or maybe your kids are super behind in, multiplication or reading. Maybe this year, just take this time to get them to be confident readers or to get them to be confident in multiplication or whatever it is. And don't stress about the little things like the history, the science, not that they're little things, but you know what I mean? Take this year and make it worth it. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Because this is only a season and this is not going to go on forever. So what do you want your kids to accomplish this year?
And not live from fear. Do not fear.
No.
Yeah, there's a purpose and a calling on your life. It's good. Christine, thank you so much for taking the time. Really appreciate your knowledge, your heart, your generosity of your lives and sharing and how you loved your kids. And also parents out there, dads, listen to me, dads. You're not off the hook. And not like you think you are, but I think it's a common notion that when it comes to homeschool, it comes to our wives, it comes to the moms. But there's a purpose on your life as well. We are creating a mom's Bible study and a dad's Bible study in the fall because discipleship is a big thing for our hearts. It's making disciples that make disciples that make disciples. But can I share with you what the men's Bible study is going to be called? Dad Bods.
Dad bods? Dad bods?
Dad bods. And it's not dad bods, but it's the physical and emotional and spiritual hearts of where we're at. God is calling us to rise up, to love and lead. One thing that I did when we homeschooled is that I just said, okay, what am I good at? Yeah. I'm good at math and I love PE. So here's what we did. Those were my two subjects. So I did math and I did PE. What are you good at, dads? So just don't disqualify yourself. Also, prayer. Pray not just for your kids, but for your wife. Be in his presence.
Thank you.
It starts with prayer. So lead men by being intentional to take time to pray for your families, to pray for your wife, to be together. I'm going to end in Psalm 16, verse 5. It says, "The Lord is my chosen portion in my cup. You hold my lot. The lines have fallen for me in pleasant places. Indeed, I have a beautiful inheritance." This fall, there's a lot of things on the table. There are things that are distracting. There are things that are blessings. But there is a cup, and he is our chosen portion. So my prayers, our hearts, again, is your relationship with the Lord and choose him and live from victory and not for it. We're in this together. We're stronger together. LW Kids at livingwater.com if you have any questions. And then also you can go to our Instagram page and our Facebook page to go ahead and like that for more updates, for more parenting in the pandemic, and more resources to come. Thank you again, Kristen, and thank you for joining us. And we'll see you soon. Take care.